even when the executive and so on. So at the end of the day, you can't make any statement that is to propel Trinidad and Tobago in a meaningful or effective way, unless you align yourself with the political leader or the director there, otherwise you're in the bad book to throw you out. And you're making a sensible statement. And you think about it, the statement you're making, the people who are looking and the people who they say are the swing voters, they're analyzing your statement and they're realizing if you making sense or not making sense. And you are being judged by the people who are offering themselves in leadership and depending on these same people to vote and making these kind of comments and statements. So what do we do? How do we change that? Have a blessed day, Trinidad and Tobago. Bye.
Thank you so much for your call. Some information was sent in this morning. Businessman Shivam Parsuram, who went missing a couple of days ago, has returned home safely. And the information sent in by Hunter's Search and Rescue Team, Captain Valance Rambarat, suggests that 45-year-old Shivam Parsuram, a contractor who was allegedly abducted in Chaguanas 8 days ago, returned home safely this morning. The details of his disappearance and all those things have not yet been released, and this is an ongoing police investigation. So as we get more information, we'll share it with you. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Satish.
Good morning.
I'm not hearing the roadmap. Call election now.
No, you probably ain't listening enough, because I continue to hear that all the time. Call elections. That call is there. It is. Just probably, as I said, you ain't listening enough. Let's see what else we have for you via our messages sent in to 306-1065. I think we have another call. Let's take that first. Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Fine, Randy. Satish, the politics in Trinidad, I think most people misinterpreting the whole scenario. Politics is not, as you just rightly say, it's not about issue in Trinidad. And as Morales and a couple of the callers have been allaying to you this morning, it's just a matter of, as you say, sleeping with the devil. It's who going with who and who going with that, and it just changes every year as election comes. It doesn't know about who getting water and who are getting roads and who it that, and you should know that by now. I know you just bring it up a lot, but people don't take that on when coming to election. Nobody votes on that. You will like people to vote on that, as Morales say. But you can't change. It's just like a cult. It's the same thing with the PNM, same thing with UNC, and any other party comes. It will be the same way, unless you change. Well, as you are now trying to see, how can this change? It will never change as long as these two parties and this continue to reign in power. So that is my thing on this. With all what they're saying about thing is UNC PNM. That's how this government structure will stay until we there. I don't know how it will change, as you and everybody trying to find out. You just ask for the solution and the questions, and nobody is able to even come up close to an answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your call. I need to present to you your financial tip before we begin our interview with my ROMP Rushton Parray. It's with the courtesy of Trinidad and Tobago Mortgage Bank, TTMB. Own your future. Track your expenses. A good first step in financial planning is to start tracking your expenses. Know where your expenditure is going and how much. Sometimes looking at things from a strategic point helps in understanding them better. So take a look at your income and expenses from a broader perspective to identify what can be cut down, and then narrow down your focus to optimizing your spending. That was your financial tip, courtesy Trinidad and Tobago Mortgage Bank, TTMB. Own your future.
TTMF and HMB have joined forces to offer you greater mortgage, financing, and investment advantages under one roof. Welcome to TTMB, the new Trinidad and Tobago Mortgage Bank. Call 625-8863 or visit ttmortgagebank.com to learn more. TTMB, the Trinidad and Tobago Mortgage Bank. Own your future.
Welcome back. I think we have MP Rushton Parray online. Let's see if the audio is working properly. He may have to log off and log back on. Yeah, we just checked it. There was a little bit of a problem with the audio, so he's just logging off and logging back on. Let's take a call in the meantime while we get the audio up and running. Hello, good morning.
Hello,
yes,
Satish, morning.
Good morning to you.
Morning. I'm sorry to call you so early, Satish, but I'm busy this morning, right? What happened is 3 weeks, Satish, we have no water in Brazil, boy. 3 weeks. And we have no water here. So I say I have to go out early this morning because my cousin and all die and all 20 days is funeral. So I'm sorry to call you so early and tell you, right? Okay then, Satish, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much for calling. Let's see if we have MP Rushton Parray online. Good morning to you, MP.
Hi, good morning, Satish. Good morning to your listeners.
We're hearing you clear. Are you hearing us okay?
A slight echo, but I'll manage.
Okay, I'm not sure how that's happening. That probably is on your end, but we're hearing you fine. It's nice to have you with us here this morning. I know we were supposed to speak yesterday, but some challenges on your end. Hope everything worked out well with that. But it's nice to have you with us here this morning. You've caused a whole set of discussion about so many different things, and the discussion has meandered its way through various nooks and crannies, and all different kinds of views have been put out in the public domain. And this morning there are two stories in the Guardian newspaper on page A6. One saying Parray vows to continue NATEC's election fight despite backlash. Quote, I'm not challenging Kamala's legitimacy. And right under that, Anita Haynes supports call for UNC internal elections, but still backs Kamala as party leader. Now, Anita Haynes made a very measured response. She gave a very measured response and her opinion of what has transpired, suggesting that there is a high level of misinterpretation of what has happened. I mean, it's in the public domain thus far. People may have misconstrued all that has happened. Let's go back to the beginning. With your decision to make this call for the UNC to hold its internal elections, it suggests in making the call that you are of the opinion that the holding of the NATEC's elections would not necessarily take place. Are you of that opinion, and if so, why?
Okay, so let me just address the issue around, conversations.
Right.
In any democracy, when the citizens have the ability to speak on issues, that's a good thing. That is how democracy thrives, whether it is in your church, whether it is in your sporting organization, whether it is in a political party, whether it is in your government. Voices having the ability to speak on matters, albeit within the context of what your organization is, can never be a bad thing. So you alluded to the fact that, my call on Friday has meandered into so many areas. It's a good thing because we are getting our citizens to have an opinion on a democratic process. And I am not offended. I am not taken aback by anything, because what I'm asking for is a democratic system and a process to happen. And every citizen, including my colleagues, including the people of the party, has a right to their view and opinion, just as I have a right to mine. So the conversation is good. It's good for democracy. It's good for development. You spoke about, in terms of my colleague Anita Haynes, supporting my call for the internal elections, and she still in support of the political leader. I don't know when and where what I said on Friday or what would have been put in the public space in the weeks running up to that ever alluded to any conversation that I was not in support of the political leader. I am in support of our duly elected political leader. And everybody shares that view. At the end of the day, that does not take away every member, the right of any member of the party to question anything. And that's a fundamental right, because besides being an MP, I'm also a member of the party. And my voice has the same strength as every activist, no more, no less. And every activist of our party has the same voice as mine. So in terms of that, all we've been asking for is the fact that there is one opportunity, like in our constitution for the country. There's a saying that once every 5 years, that the citizen gets to voice an opinion, and it's done at the ballot box. So it's the same way in the constitution of our party, that the wider membership of the party has an opportunity to make their voices heard in an election. And the last item you queried was whether I felt that the internal elections may not be held, hence the reason for my call. I took the view that there has been a echoing of certain sentiments over the last couple of months, that because of this pending general election that is supposed to happen constitutionally in August of 2025, and the Prime Minister has 90 days to stretch that, which can take him into November 2025. There was the conversation that perhaps we should not have any type of elections or refreshing of the party systems because of that. My view, that is fundamentally wrong. That, to me, is a way of denying the wider membership of the party the ability to decide whether, this is the team that we want to go into developing the strategy and the systems to take on the PNM in 2025. And that is the sentiments that I echoed after several meetings. I mean, I could tell you for months, I've been invited to meetings all over the country by our members, our membership, expressing concerns about issues in the party. And why are we doing this? And let me just address this before I finish this first piece. There's a fundamental reason why this is important to me, and a fundamental reason why this is important to a very large bit of members. There is the feeling that the UNC has lost a bit of its attractiveness to the wider population. The members of the party love the party. I love my party. I love the philosophy of my party. I love my colleagues. I love my political leader as a person. But there are fundamental things that need changing. And the only way to change is by changing the way we do things. And the election is one way we can do that. Because if we don't improve our look and our feel to the wider membership of the country, then we have a chance of taking the PNM down in 2025, which is the political enemy here. Not my colleagues, not my friends, not the members of the party. It is the PNM. And that is why, in context, what we're doing is important, not only to me, not only to the members, but the wider Trinidad and Tobago, Satish.
Yeah, when I heard what you had to say at the press conference, I read the press releases, I read the stories and everything else, and I saw the response from the 12 MPs and the senators and constituency executive and everybody and their grandmammy jump out and issue a press release after. I was like, this is unnecessary. That's my opinion. I'm not in the party. I don't understand how party business work and all that kind of thing. But I thought it a bit too much in response to what you had to say. And MP Anita Haynes has done a pretty good job of describing it as a misinterpretation, as an attack on the party and as an attack on the political leader. Do you believe, because this may be my opinion and I might be wrong as hell, do you believe that there are some who saw an opportunity to create confusion by deliberately describing your call as an attack on the party? Because now, yesterday we spoke to Ramona Ramdial, who was a former elections officer, and speaking to her was deliberate, not because she have beef with the party, but because she understands how the processes work. And the conversation yesterday was to try to get from her, what is the process? She said, well, usually a month before whatever else an announcement is made, or pronouncement is made on what would happen with the elections or everything else. But we need to go back into the response. And she said something yesterday that I thought was really interesting. That this is the same executive members who've been there for such a long period of time and who've overseen election defeats one after the other. And having the election might give the party the opportunity to change some of them. But changing some of them might domino effect, affect some of their ability to be candidates in the next election. So if we were to drill deep down into the cloak and dagger politics that is synonymous with politics in general, do you believe, and I'm asking the question on national radio here, do you believe that there are some who intentionally misconstrued what you were trying to do to serve their own selfish political ambitions?
Well, at the end of the day, I saw all the press releases, and what took me aback is, where is this coming from? I mean, many of those very same MPs who made those releases over the last 2 years in this parliament and configuration, we've sat and have several conversations about the party and strengthening the party and things we need to do different. So I really was a bit amazed by the position that they took, because they are taking a position. People are saying that, Parray, you have been rejected by your colleagues, you have been rejected by your constituency executive, you have been rejected by the Miharo Corporation. And my question is, well, what are they rejected? What I have done, Satish, is that I have made a call for the party to adhere to its constitutional mandate of having an elections, giving our widest membership the possibility of having their voices heard. Is it that my colleagues and all those persons who are writing letters are rejecting that? I mean, you can reject me all you want. There's a fundamental problem in human life that I think we fall trapped to at the end of the day. There's an old saying, listen to the message, don't shoot the messenger, deal with the messenger. It is not about who. So this is not about Rushton Parray. It can't be about Rushton Parray. Focus the energy on why. If you focus your energy on why is Parray making this call, then issues will arise. Kinks in our armor in the party will show, and then we have time to repair it and fix it. Because I'll tell you this, Satish, the 2025 general election will determine the future, the long-term future of this country. And I want your listeners to picture this for a second. If we don't, in the UNC, cross our T's, dot our I's, and make the UNC the version of itself that is at its best to go into the polls in 2025, and we allow the PNM to take government in 2025, it will be the first time in almost 40 years that the PNM would have won 3 consecutive elections And you know what that means, sir? The PNM will ingrain itself into a system in this country that it may take us another 10, 15, 20 years before we have the United National Congress have an opportunity to govern again. And if you look at the line and length that the PNM has taken, I mean, they have literally collapsed this economy. They've collapsed trade. They've collapsed foreign investment. Crime is staring you in your face. Hapless ministers of national security, police commissioner. Our health system is in ruins. Now, is that what we are prepared for to deal with in 2025 if the membership of the party doesn't feel that we have the strongest team to take us into 2025? Now, if that is what my colleagues are rejecting, well, then I see we have a bigger problem than Rushton Parray at the end of the day. And I value my colleagues, Satish. I mean, I have the greatest respect in the world. I mean, all the little peacock that fly in. I mean, these are part of the course. I mean, they are politicians, and part of the politics is to throw a little peacock every now and then. But, you know, you grow accustomed to it. But stick to the message. And I think the message is what is important for a wider membership in the party, and more so to the wider Trinidad and Tobago. Because I believe, and I think Anita said it very clear in her interview, that a stronger UNC is a better Trinidad and Tobago. And I really believe that in my heart.
Well, what you've done, I don't know whether this was intentional by design or it was just a happy coincidence, is that you've now placed a lot of focus on the actions of the party moving forward. Because Kamala Prasad-Bissessar came out and said that elections will be held when due, wait it in, and she has somebody sent some information about the national executive elections. They've been held consecutively and consistently whenever they were due. The only, and Ramona Ramdial pointed this out, the difference is that Kamala Prasad-Bissessar moved up the leadership elections in tandem with the national executive elections, even though they're supposed to be a whole year apart. And it's going to be interesting to see whether whenever the announcement is made, if it is made about the election, whether that takes place again this year. That the leadership election and the executive elections are held at the same point in time. But looking to the future, looking to the challenge for the next general election, which you and many others have described as so important for the country's future, we have to look at what role, if any, Rushton Parray is going to play. You have been, aside and apart from this whole bacchanal that break out here because of your call for the national executive elections, you've been very low-key. You've been out of the public glare by and large when it comes to bacchanal and confusion and commerce and all of that kind of thing. So this was not in keeping with the Rushton Parray that everyone knew. You were a silent giant because you worked well. You got things that you needed for your constituency. I know of some of the projects that you've been able to get off the ground, working with the PNM behind the scenes and everything else. And we've had discussions before where you've said that you don't have time with all of that bacchanal. But this one threw you directly into the public light, and you saw the controversy that has erupted. What's now the future for Rushton Parray? Because there are political analysts, and this one and that one and the next one, who say, well, you just put a nail in your own coffin. Nominations are supposed to be closed next week or some kind of thing like that. What's the future for Rushton Parray?
I would tell you that Rushton Parray has a very bright future in the politics of Trinidad and Tobago. But I want to make it absolutely clear that my future sits strongly and steadily in the bosom of the United National Congress. Why? This is the party that I joined in 2015. I left the comfort of my business. As you know, I run successful business. My background in my business is heavily in IT, data systems, process engineering. You know, I come from a strong family background of business. But I choose to leave that and jump into what most people call the political turmoil or life's turmoil of politics. And I subscribe to a philosophy that I believed in. And I still believe it today. And that is why I do believe that the party that I have given the last 9 years, that I don't think that there will be any vindictiveness on their part. I will file my nomination for Mayaro. I do believe I have a contribution to continue making to the party that I belong to. And I do believe that I have a contribution to make to national development as an MP. I'd love to go into government. Going into government will make life a lot easier in terms of directing national policy and how Mayaro develops. Mayaro will always be critical to the future of Trinidad and Tobago. We have resources here in Mayaro that can lead to positive GDP growth in this country. 17 miles of beach, ecotourism, sporting facilities, wide open road networks, communications. You know, these things all go well. But if we're not in government, to do that, well, then we have a problem. So I am saying that I have identified, I have seen, I have been part of the system. And I mean, I just tell you a couple of minutes ago that my background is in process engineering. And I see broken things very, very easily. I mean, my wife complains about that all the time, that I am always trying to fix things that I am seeing, you know, around the home, around the house, and the business. So I have seen these things, Satish. I believe that, you know, I want what is best for the party. This conversation about going into an internal elections, you know, will weaken the party and we will go into disarray. I disagree with that. You know, Mr. Basdev Pandya and Mrs. Prasad Bisesa has really contributed into building a strong political vehicle called the UNC. And I think we sell our party short when we tell the country, well, you know, if we do some housekeeping and house cleaning, it will weaken us. No, I think doing this thing will strengthen us. It will make us better. It will make more people outside of the UNC want to come and find a home in the UNC. And I think that augurs well for the party. We are a resilient party.
But what happens moving forward if the party takes a decision not to have the NATEX elections?
I don't think that the party will do that. I think Mrs. Prasad Bisesa on Friday, you know, she poked a little fun at me, and that's fine. You know, as adults, you know, we take these things in stride. But she did make an important point that she will call the election when it's constitutionally due. So let me just address that for a minute. While I am happy that the leader of our party has made it clear on the record that the elections will be held, what I think is missing, we need a date to be called soon. Why? We have less than probably about 8 weeks to when the election is constitutionally due. And it is my view that the widest membership participation is necessary. If you were to just give 30 days or 35 days, it really strangles and suppresses the widest participation of that internal elections, right? And if you can give the party a longer period so that more participation, getting your members fit and ready for an election internally, it will all go well, because what it's doing, it's strengthening our machinery, our election machinery capacity. And that is what is important. We get to refresh our capacity. We came out of a local election last year. We can refresh again and prepare in the event that Dr. Rowley does call a general election later down this year. So I can't see any disadvantage of us, you know, setting a date early, getting the arms of the party ready for an internal election, get the machinery going, get the widest participation. And I think this is what is important. One of the cries of a lot of the members when I sit and I listen to them, because I will go to these meetings to listen, not to talk, right? And the call is that, you know, we feel that the leadership has really distanced itself from us. They feel that their voices are not being heard. And there's a reason for that. You know, the party systems are very weak and non-functional. All right. I mean, I see a lot of them got very busy with letters over the weekend. But this is the call from the membership of the party, that they feel that their voices are not being heard. And that is something that we need to address. So having the elections and the date put in place early, I think it's going to allow the widest participation, which is good for democracy in the party. And let me tell you, when the country sees our party is executing the solid democratic purpose of the party's constitution, it sends a signal of how we will operate when we take government in 2025, that we will uphold the highest standards and tenets of the country's constitution, and we will abide by law and order. And I think that's a good message to send the wider Trinidad and Tobago.
You need to take a couple messages, but when we get back, we'll open the phones a bit to allow our listeners to be a part of the conversation. They have questions they may want answered, and we'll give them that opportunity. For those of you who may have joined us mid-interview, we are speaking this morning with Mayaro MP Rushton Parray. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Start your day the right way with Nestle Boost, it's true. Tastes so good, won't believe that it's good for you. Boost your health, boost your life with every sip you take. Choose Boost, choose life, don't miss the wellness way.
Whether you're managing weight, health challenges, or leading an active life.